Yo, what's good, everyone? Jersey Boy, we're back, week 14. We got the Rams. Today is going to be a bit different of an episode. I just really wanted to kind of break down how the season's been going, how our rookies have been progressing, and just see kind of what the plan might be moving into the offseason. There looks like a great chance we'll be able to participate in the playoffs as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. We have a breakout player potentially on the line. I actually don't have any idea who this might be or who this could be, but it looks like it's Jordan Jenkins. So what we need to accomplish is hold the Rams to less than 200 yards, or we need to get them two interceptions, force fumbles, tackles for loss, or sacks. And there's a great chance he can do it. We did get a chance to take a look at him last episode, and Jordan Jenkins has been balling out. He finished with 9.5 sacks, I believe, or 10.5 last season, and he was already at 9.5 this season. You guys know me. If you've been paying attention so far, I'm going to disregard this. I much rather prefer the option to just win out, and we can potentially get the additional experience there. We do have some of the contracts that I put off until just about this time as well. Marcus May is one of those, so let's go ahead and take a look at how his season has been so far. I'm going to skip over the upgrades for now, and we'll come back to those in a moment. But taking a look at his previous seasons and now, so last year, we were able to do 93 tackles for this season. He got in the backfield 11 times. He had quite a few pass deflections, and then he had a blocked punt, blocked kick. Um, so he was pretty productive, all things considered. This season looks like he took a bit of a step backwards, although his sack production did increase. So he's been able to be much more effective on the blitzes this year instead of being fully committed to the run game. He looks like he's taking a drop back in deflections as well. So we might need to see what's going on with his coverage. Other than that, no other really important splash plays for him. But I think if nothing else, he's definitely been consistent. If we take a look, he's generally averaging about 5 tackles or so per game. It seems to be, if I'm remembering correctly, the most recent game is supposed to be at the top. But yeah, no real splash plays. We don't have any interceptions. We have a few deflections here and there sprinkled in. No forced fumbles anywhere or anything like that. Um, so yeah, I don't know what to really make of him, but I think we would be hurting if we chose not to keep him. So I think the play for just 8 million would be worth it. Small cap here hit to keep somebody who at the very least is a very solid contributor. We might take a look at if we can put him in a better position, as we've seen with Jamal Adams actually moving on. Next up, Carlos Henderson. Now, he hasn't been able to see the field as often as we would like. You take a look, one reception last year, two this year. He's fourth or fifth on the depth chart, I believe. I've been trying to increase the rotations at almost every position, so this is one I'm comfortable stepping away from. He was essentially going to be the very bottom tier of what I wanted my wide receiver core to look like. And then that moves us into Terrell Basham, young left outside linebacker. We take a look at how his career has been so far. He got to play a little bit last season, 13 tackles on the season, no sacks, no interceptions, no other real splash plays. This season is essentially the same, but he has had an increase in playing time, but it's only led to half a sack and a few tackles in the backfield. I'm assuming his stats are going to essentially back up what I'm looking at here, where he just hasn't really developed a whole lot into what we need. Now, he was more of a finesse person than power. We've changed the scheme, so we're looking at more power now, but it has terrible block shedding. He just couldn't really get off of those linemen in order to make any particular plays to help aid his development. So we will be moving on from him as well. So I'm sure we can find some younger talents who, at the very least, has the same skill set and a much better time clock to work with. Nico, he has developed a bit, but I am going to tell you without a doubt, we're most likely 95% sure going to be moving on from him. 5 sacks on the season. Not ridiculous considering that we've had a few players get into the high double digits before. Um, but I think we've ran our course with him. He was much so, more so a placeholder for sure, potential depth piece. So I'm not going to cry over spoiled milk. Jonathan Harrison, definitely moving on from. And then James Burgess, we will be moving on from. I'm looking to develop Josh Nur, and we will focus on seeing what Blake Cashman can potentially do as well. I think I might actually switch them in the depth chart as well. We take a look at some of our upgrades. As we've seen, Marcus May had one, so let's go ahead, increase some of his zone capability, get him a scheme fit, and then hopefully we can see a bit of uptick in his production the last few games of the season, as he ends up having where are my eyeballs at? He goes to a 77 for zone coverage, 73 for man. So not the best, not the worst, but I think we hit it on the nail. He's serviceable. Brian Hope finally gets one though. Really happy to see what he'll potentially be able to do. So currently, he's sitting at 70-70 for man and zone. Play recognition, one of the higher tackle abilities that you'll see for a cornerback. So we'll go ahead and just continue to pour this into man. The closer we can get him to being a scheme fit, the quicker we'll get to being able to continue to get him developed. And we get +3 for him, which is great news. I'm thinking of moving him up as well as I think about who I want to really see as mainstays in our offense. And there was a young Myron Boykin. He was one of our final picks last season, and we just kind of took a chance on him based on what we've seen from his combine results. He's probably not going to pan out too much, but he actually ended up making one of the few plays in our secondary here. He snagged his first interception either last game or the game before. So he's trying. He's trying to, put his best foot forward. And as we're talking about rookies, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have going on. We'll take a look at the official stats for everyone in a bit, but we stashed Larry Rose III as he came in, but I'm not worried about him. Let's get to our rookies. Spencer Miles here, the young fullback. We were able to find a really good one late in the draft. I doubt he has anything super super crazy for him. 3 attempts, 5 yards. He hasn't had a whole lot of plays. A touchdown for him though on 2 receptions, so he's making the most of the few opportunities when they come along. But we all know that the fullback position is essentially a dead language, if you will. Now we don't have anybody young in our receiving core, which is problematic. It's going to be a heavy emphasis for me in the offseason, as whether it's Sam Darnold or if it's one of the people that we're seeing based on the scouting we've been doing soon, we need some players that can develop. Now, Jaden Rush has been able to come in. He was a very, very good tight end, although he was a blocking tight end, which, as you will see in a minute, means his stats were pretty much skewed all over the place. But he's got 11 receptions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy, but considering probably the playing time that he's getting, I'm 334 downs. We'll have to compare it to what Christopher Herndon has real quick, but he's putting in work when he can. He did slightly take over last game, so 955 last season. He had about half of the snaps that Christopher Herndon had last year, so he's getting work. He's getting work. I'm proud of the work he's been doing in the blocking game. This turns us over to our investments in the offensive line. We have Gabe Roberson, and he has developed quite a bit over the season. He's faced some really good pass rushers, But Gabe Roberson, he's allowed 4 sacks on this season. But taking a look at how he's been developing his strength, top tier. He's up there. He'll probably finish around close to middle of the pack in terms of ranking just based on his stats. But pass block is serviceable. Same thing with his run block. His pass block technique is a bit more upper echelon than anything else, but I'm looking to really see that awareness, that impact blocking coming up as he continues to work on his game. We know about Cody Whitehair, but we have the young Jack Barker, the beast in the middle of the Wolf Pack, and he's going to end up unlocking a superstar trait soon. Serviceable strength, pass blocking is his forte. He'll slowly work on his run game capabilities as we continue to build around him. But super proud of him. He's increased the most out of any of our rookies in the season. Now, stat wise, he's C. He's already allowed 6. He's had a few rough games, but considering him overcompensating for the right side of the line, I do not mind. Justin Jackson is on the right side of the line. We'll see how often he's been able to get into the actual games, but I don't imagine it's much. One down played, so and he's just been getting experience while riding the pine. But taking a look at him, there was a bit to work with potentially. Technique wise in the pass block game, he's better. He was a pass blocking guard coming out, but took shots in the dark, and he probably won't stick. Mainly for me, just because of the strength factor there. So I need my offensive lineman and be able to, push the line around. On the defensive line, nobody to speak of. We have Quandre Sonder, or Sasser, excuse me, in the linebacking core, and same thing for them. So a lot of our rookies, I'm not sure how much time off the top of my head they've actually been able to get to try to develop. He's only played 4 downs, 3 games, so he definitely hasn't really had a chance to shine or show what he can do at all. Hopefully, if we can lock up one of the playoff positions, then I would definitely will be increasing quite a bit the amount of time that they'll be able to get. Uh, Jake Noor, now another shot in the dark for us, but if you take a look at his ratings, fantastic speed and acceleration. I can work with his pursuit, and if we can develop the rest of the game around him, as his coverage isn't the worst I've ever seen, he could potentially be a monster for us. So I am definitely looking to see what we can make of him. He's already had a James Burgess, as I don't plan on keeping him around, but I might potentially put him ahead of Blake Cashman as well. But those would be the 2 guys of the future if we're able to make something happen there. Now, Robert Bannister has slowly been developing on the right side. You can see he's had 52 downs so far. But we are working that hidden development while he's increasing as often as he possibly can. I think he's gotten 3 or 4 points so far. It says he's played 52 downs. That must have been in preseason potentially then, unless we're having a glitch there. But taking a look at him, so we have good speed, good acceleration, which was kind of my focus for those later round picks. I wanted something that stood out. His tackle we can work with, and his strength is going to increase, but he's more of a finesse player based on his mold. So he already has the moves and the high motor and everything as well. I'm thinking next season he will definitely see an increase, but my game plan is essentially the same. If we lock down a position, a playoff position, then he will see increases as well. Now, Brian Hopes is my hope of the secondary. All puns intended for him. Now, 24 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, no splash plays. He's been able to get in there and get a deflection or so. So nothing crazy, but he has slowly seen his game time increase as I've been getting more comfortable with him. 249 snaps. He's essentially averaging about 20 or so snaps per game, probably closer to about 25 or so now, but he's played the most last game that he has all season. Not that effective, but it is what it is. I'm glad to see him at least rolling around and trying to get things going. So hopefully he can be the future at our position for us. We took a look at Myron Boykin. I think I said he was in his second year. He actually happens to be a rookie as well. But you know, he has one of the higher speeds you'll see, at least in terms of draftable players in the secondary. But there is a lot that we need to do to really make him work for us. So we'll see. He's had one of the few interceptions that we've had all season, and we don't really have anyone else we can speak of that we've picked up so far. Now, in terms of what we want to do with the draft, we've been taking a look so far. I'll show you guys kind of what's been going on at each position so far for me. Again, heavy focus on maximizing our first 2 rounds of the draft. Really interested in these quarterbacks that we're going to potentially be able to choose from. I'm hoping somebody drafts. I'm thinking I might consider taking action as soon as one of them goes, unless I really just end up falling in love with one by the time the draft actually rolls around. We're going to need some more younger halfbacks coming in that can pick up the slack right away. Kind of have my eyes on Mike Walker at the moment. I'm hoping he kind of has a bit of giddy up to him. But if he's slower in the speed department, I am still willing to go with it since he has that great vision coming out already. Then it's kind of a lot of duds. Seems like this is one where you want to get him early or you'll be stuck waiting. Receivers. Now, I'm going to be focusing on those that can catch in traffic and those with great route running abilities because that's the matchups that I'm going to want for either our new quarterback or Sam Darnold so that he has no excuses. If they can't get away, then they can at least secure the catch. And Denzel Waters and Cordell Stith are going to be my top options there. But then I'm also interested in Artis Luther. I'm hoping if he does end up being someone we choose, that it doesn't take forever for us to, have to develop him or get him as a scheme fit. Evan McFarland, probably going to be the best tight end by far in this draft. I'm looking for somebody that can potentially stretch the seams for us. Chris Herndon's been a great security blanket, but I'm thinking Jaden Rush is going to end up being the go-to moving forward if we can increase his abilities. Left tackle doesn't seem like it's a great class if you're going to need things there, but Caleb Kirkland, we need to increase the run blocking on the inside. Cody Whitehair isn't going to stay forever, but we could potentially switch this guy to the right side as well, and we could potentially get him in the second, maybe the late first, where we'll probably be picking. If not, maybe we can move Brian Coolidge around. And then we still have work to do elsewhere to see if there's anybody we can get away with. But right guard, left guard, at least securing one of those additional positions, so a depth and a starter, and then right tackle is kind of the continued focus there. Now on the line, we've pretty much been good, but we want to continue to try to keep that a strength when possible. I'm much more concerned about the linebacking core, but there are some players here who, depending on how the agility and stuff pans out, might be candidates to switch to the linebacking core. So Deron Graves is somebody I'm keeping an eye out on since we're looking for power rush, and then Taj Brown as the other. Feel like 280-ish is, a passable range. Anything more than that is D-line territory. Cortez Carvey, another person to consider as having a move. Power rush is the focus. However, I would take somebody that's excelling with that A minus. And then defensively, at the defensive tackle position, or nose tackle if you want to call it, we need more depth. So Q's holding down the fort, but we need somebody that can spell him when possible. Linebacking core kind of looking like a bit of a dud as well, so we're really going to need to consider who's falling, who's still there at certain points in the draft to really maximize what's happening here. Kari McCullough looking like somebody. He has the size, potentially might have the speed if we're lucky, and he has the traits to at least be a serviceable run stopper. So Definitely capable and willing to move up for him if we need to have, that future CJ Mosley guy on the team. And then, depending on what happens with Cashman or Noor, we'll see. Still focusing on the rest of the few players here. Nothing that really stands out so far. Maybe Harvey Matthews potentially being the best of them. And then cornerback position. Want to continue to try to get younger there. I do like that DJ Woodard has a bit more of the size, and then he already has the coverage traits. It looks like, so we might have to go the route of hope when it comes to a player like him. But I'm potentially liking what Damon Tiller might have to offer us. But we shall see. Combine's gonna, of course, as always, play a huge role here in deciphering who goes where, and then looks like strong safety is the preferred route here. So not too worried there at all. We'll see what happens. So let's take a look at stats overall. We've tried to do a lot of changes over the season to our offensive schemes, what's going on to try to increase production. We've done what we can, but it is what it is. Sam Darnold almost 3,000 yards on the season. Looks like he won't be touching four. He's completed 75%. Hasn't even hit 500 for his touchdown to interception ratio. But I don't know. I can't even necessarily say that it's been improvements for him, but we've done all we can. He's kind of dinking and ducking quite a bit, so I just don't know at this point if he's the right person for us. Hopefully, maybe some competition brings out the best of him next off season if that's the route we want to go, and we will play it by ear with him. I think moving on from Le'Veon Bell was definitely one of the smarter decisions that I've decided to go with. Very ineffective in what we've been trying to do, and Giovanni Bernard's been not exceptional, but he's definitely proving that we were not wrong in our decision. The ball's been able to get spread around a bit more recently as well, so Elijah McGuire having a few upticks in touches. Jamison Crowder seems to always happen to get back there as well. I'm not quite sure what that's about. I'm assuming it's just the scheme and the play calling. Tyreek Hill doing it a few times as well. That speed really serving. But other than that, nothing of noticeable importance for us. I'm just glad to see that the touchdown, the fumble are a bit low for us. Receiving department, Quincy Nunn leading the way. He's making the most of his abilities now, playing the number two in our offense. Tyreek Hill, he hasn't come in and taken the roof off of things like we thought, but that speed factor has definitely helped. I think if Sam Darnold continues to evolve, or if we need to focus on somebody new with a bit better arm strength, or at least the ability to throw it, medium and deep, then he will see a much better season next year, even if it happens to be a rookie. Chris Herndon, it's been a security blanket, which has been great. Jamison Crowder doing his thing in the slot as well, but Christopher Herndon has kind of been where Sam Darnold has looked to. Um, I haven't had anybody really have any kind of wiggle. Eli Rogers has been the person that seems like he has the most game-breaking plays, although he only has 13 receptions. Um, and then Giovanni Bernard does what he can in the receiving department. We've seen Jaden Rush already. And then there's a few others just kind of sprinkled in based on injuries and things of that nature. Now, the blocking we've seen, it's been much lower than what we had last season. At this point, we had a few people, touching 20 plus at one point. So they've definitely gelled and worked a lot better together. Center, left tackle, and left guard contributing to a lot of those. But I think as we solidify the last few pieces on the right side, we'll be fine. CJ Mosley leading the way, 135 total tackles. He's been a monster as always for us. Brian Poole also contributing there quite a bit. And then Jamal Adams, he seems like he's taking the back seat. He did miss, 4 games, but he'll definitely be making up for those. As we jump over to the tackles for loss, we see C.J. Mosley, Jordan Jenkins, Ja'Kai, and we have the William Bros down here, essentially living in the backfield this season. Sacks, Jordan Jenkins at 10 already. He had let's take a look. I really want to say he had 9.5 last season. Yep. So he's already exceeded that. We still got 4 games to play for him to try to continue to rack up his total. And then it's just been really interesting to kind of see the breakdown here. So Jordan Jenkins, very, very solid. Leonard Williams finally kind of standing out and showing some upper tier production. And then Jachai Polite, he's seen an increase in his stats as well. So he's developing for us. Happy to see that. Q doesn't necessarily show here, but he's definitely applying pressure on almost every down when possible. And then a couple other players slowly sprinkled in there, but nobody that majorly stands out as defensive player of the year candidate here. Interceptions, few and far in between. CJ Mosley, oddly enough, having the most, and then Mackenzie Alexander as our de facto cornerback one, getting his hands on 2. Brian Poole, and then the rookie Boykin getting a couple. Other than that, we haven't really touched the ball a whole lot in terms of being able to make, field changing plays. Now, Jamal Adams still doing his thing. He's he's basically probably going to lead the league every season in forced fumbles. And then nobody else basically has anything. CJ Mosley with 2, Q with 1. We've been able to get our hands on decent amount of the fumbles that we cause, but it seems like everybody's awareness isn't quite where it needs to be. We take a look. We were able to get 1 safety. We have 1 defensive touchdown on this season so far. So all things considered, defense still holding down the fort. Offense has some pieces which, if we can figure it out, they're going to gel. I can tell you guys right now, there's going to be more scheme changes and things coming up to end the season or to start the next season anyways. I'll finalize that as we get all the pieces in place. But taking a look at the awards before we call this video a wrap, Aaron Rodgers leading the way in MVP voting. And he's looking to try to do something with his team, although they are 7-5. Coach of the Year candidate Griffin Murphy crushing it this season for him. We're still in the rat race. We've cooled off quite a bit, but Curtis Martin is still doing one hell of a job as the coach. Patrick Mahomes, Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC. I wish we could say NFC. AFC voting, nobody for us. Defensive Player of the Year, CJ Mosley happens to be leading the way. I'm a bit surprised. He has had a pretty phenomenal season, though. Jamal Adams also in there. He was number 2 at one point. He's cooled off after missing a few games. He's working his way back in. Allen Bradley of the Chiefs in there. Jaden Rush, 6th. Maybe if we can increase, some of his touches, maybe he can catch somebody. I'm not going to hold my breath. Defensive Rookie of the Year, John Flanagan for the Ravens. Looks like we have Brian Hope stashed in there. If he can make a few splash plays, I'm sure he can jump up quite a bit. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the AFC. Derrick Henry of the Bills leading the way. No surprise there. Hard-nosed line, hard-nosed runner. Cole Beasley. Still shocking for me that Cole Beasley is the best wide receiver in the American Football Conference. When you take a look at the other names, excuse me, and exactly who the Bills kind of have on the roster. Offensive line, not going to hold my breath. Jack Barker would have been our best chance, but, he's suffered due to the overall talent. J.J. Watt for the defensive line here. Leonard Williams is in there. Hopefully Q can maybe at least make the list at some point. C.J. Mosley makes sense. Best top candidate for defensive player of the year, also getting in there. Jordan Jenkins there as well, sandwiched in. He'll probably be sitting just behind Mosley for the season by the time it's all said and done. Sua Cravens for the Broncos, having a huge season. And surprised we don't see Jamal Adams at least on this list. And then Eddie Pinheiro, our kicker, he's cooled off quite a bit. So I don't know if maybe he's just not kicking as many or how he suddenly dropped from 2 down there. But it is what it is. With that said, though, guys, thank you for checking this out. That's been, our 75% quarter way mark review. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll have the 4 Rams game on display, and we'll see if we can continue to improve with our record for the season. Have a good one, guys. Jersey Boy out.